Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition it's Hammerin Harry. Also known as Daiku no Gensen, Hammerin Harry was released in Europe only, unfortunately never making its way over to North America. The Japanese version of the game would see a sequel and several titles over the year, with only one or two ever making it over to North America. So here we go with Hammerin Harry for the NES. The game story is pretty simple. A company is destroying your house. I'm not sure if they're destroying other buildings around town, but either way, Hammerin Harry is not too happy about his house being destroyed and has a bone to pick with a construction company. Here we go with level number 1. For this run of Hammerin Harry, I'm going to be playing the game not once, but twice all the way through. When you complete it on the first time, you automatically go into a second loop with the game being more difficult, and for the fun of it, I was going to go ahead and show both loops of the game. The first loop is a lot easier for sure. In the first level, we can actually jump over a large portion of the enemies. Hammerin Harry actually has a pretty decent arsenal of attacks, being able to hold up and attack to hit enemies in the air, swing it normally just with the regular attack, or you can hold down and attack and do a mighty slam with your hammer, which does more damage. For this enemy here, hit him and then slowly duck underneath the bullets and get close enough to hit him a few times before we enter into the first boss room. For this boss, he's throwing down these objects from above. We're going to go ahead and hit them back up at him. You have to time it right where you're underneath of them, where you swing and hit it so it'll actually go back up and hit him, but it only takes 3 of them in order to take him down and move on to the next level. Between the first few levels, there is a bonus level to take part in. These basically just have you fighting off either a group of enemies, playing a large game of whack-a-mole, or destroying boxes before they explode. A good strategy for the most part is hanging out underneath the center part here. You can hold up sometimes to attack. This does a decent range, or just keep swinging back and forth with your hammer. The counter at the bottom will build up as you defeat these enemies, and if you get 36 to 40, you end up getting a hard hat, which gives you a free hit basically. And if you end up getting 41 or above, you get a vial of medicine, which replenishes your health, which is very useful. There's a few items that you can get in the game, including a lightning bolt that defeats all the enemies that are on the screen, as well as a couple of hammers. The mega hammer you can get, which basically a big enormous hammer, as well as the cyclone hammer, which can hit both left and right of the character. As level number 2 begins, start off by taking out this enemy above, doing the jump attacks, either just regular swings or holding down when you do your jump in order to do that big swing. Then jump up these platforms and get to the ladder to go up to the next part. Here, be very careful of the moving up and down platform here. Just be sure to jump on at the right time. Then, once you're on these ladders, keep moving left on the ladder, swinging the hammer as you do so, taking out a few of the enemies. Maybe you'll get lucky and one of them won't even get in your way. For this spot, just wait a moment and then drop down. Just walk off the platform on top of the next one that's there, and then get over to the right. Here we have to take out another one of these enemies that's stopping our path with the water. It can be sometimes a little difficult to get over to this spot. Once they're taken care of, just continue on. Here you can use the enemy projectile to bounce your way up the ladder. I like to do that sometimes on the easy run. The harder run, I don't really try to lose any health if possible. Here we have the mini-boss. Start off by immediately attacking. He'll bounce around getting on the ladder. When he does, you'll be able to jump up and do a swing as well. Only takes a few hits to get rid of him, and then we're going to go down this ladder here to get to the real boss encounter of the level. For this boss, just kind of stand right here, wait for it to come towards you, and then jump and do the downward swing. All you gotta do is 4 of these, and the battle is instantly done. That's how quick it can be done. For this large game of whack-a-mole, you have several holes that the moles will come out of. Your goal is to get between 9 and 11, and you will get a hard hat. 12 or more, and you end up getting a timer, which slows down the enemies. Not a lot of strategy for this. I just do my best to keep fighting each one, do big jumps with my swings so that I can hit those ones at the very, very top of the screen. They can sometimes be a little bit difficult to hit.
Let's get busy!
Next up, level 3. Immediately starting off with a jump, getting on this boat here. We're going to run over to the far right, jumping over a few enemies, including a few spiked boxes. Take out this guy at the end, and then get into the small boat and start riding in the water. Be careful when the boat falls that you don't accidentally hold left or right and go too far and end up falling out of the boat instantly. For these enemies, they're going to be coming at you pretty quickly. You can stand there and do swings at them by jumping up into the air, or you can stand on the boat and just keep attacking them by holding up an attack, whichever one you end up finding easiest for you. As you wrap up the boat segment, when you get to land, you'll be attacked by a couple of birds. Quickly get to the other side and take out the enemy in order to disperse the birds before we make it to the end of the level and the boss encounter. For this boss, jump on top of the car and then stand right about here and just keep swinging downwards with the hammer. Standing there is a good spot to avoid both the gun as well as the projectiles that are being thrown by the guy inside of the car. That fight is a lot tougher the second time around because it requires a lot more hits to deal with it. For this bonus game, you have to hit the boxes before they explode. If you get 11 to 19, you get a hard hat. If you get above 20, then you end up getting a lightning bolt, which can help you out a bit in the next stage. This is the last of the mini-games. After the next level, we just go right into the final level. There's only 5 stages in the game, so that's why replaying it 2 times all the way through really doesn't take all that long.
Let's get busy!
Be careful as soon as you begin the level of a few of the enemies that are going to throw these caps at you. You can jump over the one at the top. Just be careful of any enemy that may jump out of the water below up at you. Here I'm going to wait a second for the cap to be thrown, then get up onto the pipe and over to the first elevator. For this little mini boss guy, we're going to hit him as soon as he lands here and then just keep swinging downwards with the hammer. Just takes a few hits and he's taken care of. Right after that, destroy the wall, and then right as you go through, be very careful. There's giant spiked mace balls that are going to come crashing down, as well as several enemies. If we move quickly, though, we can get to the other side without having to really deal with them. As soon as you pop out of the next elevator, destroy the wall, head over to the right. You'll be attacked by these enemies, and basically it's just a gauntlet. Just stay over here to the left side, keep swinging that hammer, and keep defeating all the enemies as they appear. Eventually the elevator on the right side will open up. Once it does, just be very careful when backtracking a little bit to get to it. Once at the next elevator's drop-off point, break another one of these walls, and you'll be in the boss encounter. The boss that we'll be dealing with in the next level flies off, and then we find out who we're actually fighting for this battle. Kind of like a Splatterhouse thing almost going on with this boss. Basically, you think it's going to be one thing, and nope, it's evil. It's evil. And this is actually a pretty tough boss. Harder than the final boss, in my opinion. Watch out for when it's flying around, dropping the kicks down. As soon as it lands, be there, either in front or behind, in order to swing that hammer down, and then keep repeating the process, trying to get out of the way each time it comes crashing down, and it only takes a few hits to defeat it, and we're moving on to the final level of the game. At the beginning of the boss's mansion, be very careful of this statue firing. I usually like to pick up these items, duck, and then as it's going through its cycle, as soon as I grab the items, it's usually enough of a gap where I can jump over the statue and avoid having to get hit. Right after that, be careful of the holes open up in the walls, and you're going to climb up the left side here. It's not an extremely long level, but you want to be very cautious if possible. When you make it to the top, be very careful of each mace ball that comes crashing down, and then destroy the wall on the right. As soon as the wall is destroyed, a couple of those pogo stick guys will pop out using those jackhammers, so be very careful of them. Just kind of stay low when you're destroying that wall. Then kind of get the screen to scroll a little bit so that you can actually see where you need to go, get to the wrecking ball, and then over the gap to the next area with the water. This is actually already the end of the level here. Just be very careful when moving across these little platforms. Grab an item here if you want to. It will help you out in the boss fight. And destroy the wall to the right. Now it's time for the final boss. As soon as you deliver one hit, it's going to knock him out of the air here. And then we're going to immediately attack as soon as he's on the ground and just keep hitting him 3 more times, and that's it. The boss is done, and we can sit back and enjoy the ending to Hammerin Harry before we begin our second loop through the game. As the ending finishes up, you get the last screen with the congratulations and then the IREM Corporation logo. From here, though, we're going to go right into the next part of the game. Our battle isn't over yet. You'll notice right away that enemies have more health, so sometimes it takes several hits in order to defeat even the weakest of enemies. That's why, of course, that slam down with the hammer is just as important the second time around, if not more so. Cautiously move our way through the first part here, dealing with the enemies in front of us. Here we can just slam down the hammer to defeat the couple of guys that are going to come down from the poles above. Be careful of the caps or manhole covers here. The enemies will pop out and try to throw them at you, but if you're quick, you can get past. Then take out the enemy over to the right side. Just do a bunch of slams with the hammer. And he's done, and now we go to the boss fight, which is still the same as far as dealing with 3 hits, but he moves a lot quicker, and it's a little harder to kind of get in those spots. So he'll start moving sometimes before you end up getting a chance to hit it, and thus you'll end up missing sometimes. Once you do deliver that 3rd hit though, it's time for another bonus round before moving to level 2. As far as I can tell, there really isn't much difference, if any, with the bonus games. It's pretty much the same thing. Same rewards and the like, and same goals for you to complete.
Let's get busy!
I'll quickly scroll through the text between the levels during this run of the game just to make things a little bit quicker, since it's the same exact text that we saw the first time that we played through the game. As soon as you begin, destroy that first enemy that has that water moving so you can get across, then slowly work your way across the bottom, swinging the hammer every so often to get rid of the enemies around you, and then get up to the next platform. Just carefully jump off of the platform over to the right side, and then use the other platform to get up to the ladders, jumping your way slowly across, swinging the hammer as you do so to deal with the enemies. Right here, once again, just drop off and then quickly jump over to the right. Climb up before moving too much farther so you don't summon the mace ball before you're already onto the platform. Deal with this enemy right here. You can attack from below as well. You don't have to be on the same level with it with the hammer. Either way, watch out for now the exploding throwing box guy here. Take several hits to defeat him, and right after that, it's time for the mini-boss, just like before, though this time it's going to be a little bit more hits. As soon as the fight begins, we're going to immediately hit him with that hammer. He'll jump to the ladder, and then repeat that process of hitting him as soon as he gets down to ground level. And if he goes back to the ladder, jump up and knock him right off. Once he's defeated, move on down the next ladder and head into the boss chamber. This boss we're going to complete pretty much the same way that we did before. Wait for him to come out, then just jump up and swing the hammer. Don't move any more than that, just keep jumping up. And he'll be done, and before really too much firepower gets going in this boss encounter. Time for another whack-a-mole experience here. The items that you get can be much more useful during the hard run of the game than necessarily during your first run.
Let's get busy!
As soon as level 3 begins, once again jump onto the boat and start heading over to the right. A couple of enemies we're just going to jump over. You can actually run past them without them catching up to you because they're going to run into the next boxes coming up. Then jump over the series of boxes here and immediately slam the hammer down. If you do so before you reach this guy, you can actually stun him a bit, getting a few moments to get close to them and deal with them that way. Just like we did before, you can either jump up and swing attack at these guys or just hold up on the hammer and keep attacking that way to knock these guys out of the air. A little bit more going on this time around for sure, but it's still not too much more challenging. Just like before, when this segment wraps up though, you are going to get attacked by the birds, so quickly get across this platform if possible. You can hold up on the attack once again to knock the birds away a little bit, but just get to the end of the platform and destroy the enemy. That way you can just deal with those birds and then get inside here for the next boss encounter. For this boss, jump up to where we did before and just keep swinging the hammer until the car goes off screen. If the car causes you to go off screen, you can attack it actually from behind. But then once it gets back on screen, you want to immediately jump on top of it and continue your assault. Try to get right back to that same spot you jumped before. If it goes off screen again, just attack if possible, and as you can see, I was able to defeat it by hitting it with that last hit while it was off to the left. Here we have the final of the bonus games that we're going to be taking on just one last time, trying to deal with these exploding boxes.
Let's get busy!
Level number 4, we're going to immediately watch out for those caps being thrown at us from the pipes. Jump over this one. A swing attack as you do so usually works for making sure that any enemy jumping up from the water gets taken care of. Move quickly through the rest of the area and make it to the first elevator on the far right. Once up here, we're going to do the same thing we did before, get him against the wall, and then swing that hammer and just get him kind of stuck in a pattern where we can just keep swinging the hammer to deal with him. Destroy the wall right next to him, and then watch out immediately for the mace ball that's going to come crashing down. Then just keep moving left. Make a jump over boxes if you need to at the end, or hold up and attack to knock the pogo guys out of the air. Up here is the Gauntlet you gotta kind of deal with. These guys now take several hits, so you'll have to swing the hammer a few times to deal with them. So we're not going to go all the way over to the left like we did before, just a little bit to the left. And that way there's enough space where we can kind of see what's going on. We're just going to still just swing the hammer constantly until we defeat enough of them and enough times pass and we can go through that elevator on the right. Once to the top floor, again, we're going to destroy the wall and then get ready for the next boss encounter. This one is a little bit of a challenge for sure. Just like before, we're going to wait for the animation to go through and we're going to try to attack as soon as it ends. Just kind of swing as soon as that thing ends to immediately get that first hit. Then when it comes crashing down, you just want to make sure that you have that hammer and swinging it down so that you can knock it away from you. And hopefully when the next flying move goes through, you'll be able to avoid it. The flying kick in particular, the one where it comes homing in on you, can be a little bit difficult. Just try not to move too far in that direction that you kind of see it flying. Kind of trick it a little bit, go one way and then turn your direction to kind of get that foot to fly the opposite way, and then you can come in for an attack. The final level, watch out once again for the statue spewing out some fireballs, then go through the elevator there. Once again, enemies are going to pop out of the holes in the walls, but we can avoid them if possible. Just jump immediately up the stairs and start climbing up that left side. Get each one of the mace balls to crash down and then retract so that you can get to that wall and destroy it. Once again, watching out for the jackhammer pogo guy that immediately flies at you from the wall. I like to jump over that little gap and just wait, ducking. That way the other pogo guy will miss me for sure. Then be very careful when making these little jumps across these gaps here. Before getting over to the right, I'm going to use the lightning bolt there. That's what it does, destroys the enemy there, but not something I had to do. But I was going to be picking up this health potion just in case I need it before the final boss anyway, so I figured I'd show it. This wall does take a lot of hits for some reason to destroy, but once it does, it's time for the final boss. If you're quick, you can actually hit him immediately in the air with a nice jumping swing down. And just keep repeating the process we kind of did before. He'll get in the air this time potentially, but you're still going to repeat that process of just swinging the hammer when the opening comes, and it's not really that bad of a fight. Once he's done, we can enjoy the ending once again to Hammerin Harry. This time it's the same pretty much ending, unfortunately, but at least we beat the hard mode. When you complete it on the hard mode, while everything pretty much remains the same, the message here is what's different. So there you have it, Hammerin Harry for the NES. One of my favorite NES titles that never made it to North America. It's always a lot of fun to go back and play this one. And a few of the other games in the series are worth checking out as well. If you're a fan of the PlayStation Portable and never checked out Hammerin Hero, I highly recommend it. A fun game in the Hammerin Harry series. With that, guys, though, it's going to wrap up this episode of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.